Ambitious and motivated are words that describe you best. Then you're on the right place. This is Motivational Radio France from Paris with your host, Longi Agoha.
Lots of people call me, and I have lots of people who call me here asking me what can they do to discover who they really are, because that is the major problem. Before you choose a career, you need to understand who you are exactly. I don't know if you have an insight on that. What are the steps? Do you have any remedies for that? Because young people at 15, 16, 17, some of them do find it difficult to understand exactly what they really want to do. And I don't know if you do have any inkling of things you need to do, or because you said you need to really look inward. How do you look inward?
Thank you. You've asked a very important question. And this is a question I also find when I travel across the country in Nigeria to schools to talk to young people who are very concerned about what career they should be inclined towards. And they ask these questions along these lines of what do I really need to do? What steps do I really need to take in order to discover my career? And that is quite normal to ask such questions, because you realize that man, as an inventor, when he invents every appliance or every equipment, every electronic or whatever invention or equipment that's been invented by man, it comes with a manual, and the manual tells a man or the user how to operate it. But man in itself, as a person, wasn't born with a manual, and so it's through the process of discovery, self-discovery, that an individual gets to realize at the end of the day what he or she was born to do, and ends up doing or ends up making decisions towards achieving those interpersonal abilities that should be rightly applied towards achieving those things he or she was born to do. And that brings me to the question of also the responsibility of every individual to ensuring that not just that he or she comes to the world, but that he or she comes to the world and realizes that exact thing that he or she can do to make a difference. Because I've always believed, and I've always held this to be true, that everybody is made to do something unique, because everybody is unique. No two persons are the same. And so the first step is for an individual to make the choice to take responsibility for his or her personal development. That's where it starts from. And if somebody doesn't take that responsibility for his or her personal development, it will be difficult to do self-appraisal. And now these are the few nuggets of knowledge that some of the wise sages of old had that made them just naturally excel above their compatriots. And it is the fact that finding out one's talent and finding out one's profession is not just something that comes by walk in the park. It determines it demands a conscious decision to develop oneself consciously. And where it starts from is for an individual to discover his or herself. There are certain things that needs to be done, and one of which is to consciously study oneself. When I started out speaking, I had a plan of action I went by regularly, one of which was to constantly read. And so as I read, I discovered that I was becoming better. I was discovering my strengths, my weaknesses, the opportunities around me, the threats, for instance. And this is where it starts from, discovering what strengths do I have as a person, and asking the questions, what weaknesses do I have? And then I worked so hard on developing my strengths and seeing how I could mitigate my weaknesses. So I think it starts from there. A young person can do this by simply asking some pertinent questions, one of which is, what am I good at naturally? Some people are natural speakers. When they speak, it's difficult to get them to stop speaking because they're naturally not shy. They're confident. They're not stage shy. They don't have stage fright. This shows naturally that such a person has the gift, has the inner gift for the gaps, has the gift of the gaps, can speak in public. Some people naturally they're skillful, they're artistic when it comes to art, or when it comes to nature. They have a proclivity towards nature. They can easily interpret their feelings in pictures. That shows that such an individual is artistic. So if that individual works hard at developing the skills for artistry, he will naturally, or she will naturally do better than somebody who doesn't have the natural inclinations along those lines. And what we see is that this question is even more pertinent in today, where we find out that most young people are studying courses that were thrust upon them or forced upon them by circumstances, by perhaps the wrong advice, etc. And it's even more important today because of that alone. I've seen people who are studying courses in school that they were not cut out for. So they don't have the passion to go to classes. They don't have the passion to develop themselves along those lines. And they at the end of the day, they end up believing that they're not good enough, because the grades will surely show how much efforts they put in. And because they don't put in efforts, because they're not passionate about it, they end up not doing well. So it affects their self-appraisal. It affects how they feel about themselves. And this is wrong. And this is not so good. So I believe it starts, first of all, from asking the questions: what strengths do I have as a person? And what weaknesses do I have as a person? Taking a self-appraisal of asking these questions: what talents do I have? And this can easily be found when an individual takes conscious decisions, takes conscious steps towards knowing more about himself or herself. Most people know more about others. Most people know more about their environment, but only few people in the world really know a lot about themselves. And that's why Lao Tzu was an ancient Chinese philosopher. He said that a man who knows others is learned, but a man who knows himself is wise. And that shows that if somebody who can take conscious decisions to knowing himself or herself better will not find it difficult to find the career path that would help harness those talents, those intricate, those intimate talents that can make he or she achieve a worthwhile future in career path.
To have Lonji Agoha speak at any of your organizations, activities, churches, schools, companies, or any other platform, please call 081 0476 1930 or plus 33 6 0920 1972. Alternatively, or log on to www.agohalonji.com. Thank you.